In 1997, Leonardo DiCaprio went from unknown to global obsession overnight, earning $40 million by 23 before vanishing. Paparazzi called it arrogance. Friends said survival. His diary called it exile. Therefore, why did the world's most desired man suddenly reject the very machine that created him? And what secret deal pulled him back into Hollywood's spotlight years later?
Where we are exactly, but that right there is the Eiffel Tower. And it's sort of foggy. See the mist up top?
In 1998, Leonardo DiCaprio stood barefoot on damp Amazon soil, just 23, fresh off Titanic, the highest grossing film on Earth. Reporters chased him across continents, but that day, he wasn't posing, he was listening. Around him, a group of indigenous elders described rivers poisoned by mining. One elder asked him quietly, "What will you do with your voice now?" That question changed everything. Within 2 years, Leo founded his first environmental charity, before Instagram activism existed, before it was fashionable.
And where exactly do you live, Mr. Dawson?
Well, right now my address is the RMS Titanic. After that, I'm on God's good humor.
By 2010, he donated over $1 million to WWF. By 2020, more than $100 million through his Earth Alliance. Those are verified numbers confirmed by tax filings and partner organizations. Yet the rumor persists that the real motivation traces back to a private promise he made in that rainforest. Rumors from that trip suggested he spoke of a debt he couldn't describe. Since then, every major film, The Beach, The 11th Hour, Before the Flood, mirrors that awakening. The pattern is undeniable. Fame built the platform. Guilt built the mission. Each time he wins an award, he funds another conservation project. Each speech ends with the same urgency. Time is running out. But what if the real countdown began that day in the jungle, when a movie star stopped acting and started owing something to the world? By the end of 1997, Leonardo DiCaprio had everything: fame, fortune, and the kind of global attention few can survive.
I know you're just a kid, but you possess a wisdom and a maturity indescribable here.
Titanic earned more than $2 billion worldwide, and overnight he became the face on every magazine, every billboard, every teenage bedroom wall. His phone rang non-stop. Crowds followed him through airports. Photographers climbed hotel walls to get a single shot. At first, he laughed it off. The parties in Los Angeles stretched till sunrise, and studio offers came faster than he could read them, but fame grows heavier than it looks. By 1999, he had stopped smiling in public. He told Rolling Stone he felt like a product, not a person. His friends from that period said he began skipping premieres, hiding at home with old friends from his childhood in Echo Park. Therefore, when he refused 5 scripts in 1 year, Hollywood thought he had lost interest. The truth was simpler: he couldn't breathe. Reports suggested he turned down over $20 million in guaranteed roles. Instead, he left for long stretches, no red carpets, no interviews. However, that silence became his turning point. Away from cameras, he started sketching ideas for stories about survival, greed, and redemption.
God, you know what? You're the hottest ticket in town.
Well, thanks.
Themes that would define his later films. Fame didn't end him, it forced him to start again. After The Revenant came out in 2015, Leonardo DiCaprio disappeared again. No new movies, no red carpets, no interviews. For almost 5 years, people kept asking where he went. Reporters followed his yacht routes, guessing he was just relaxing. But there was more behind that silence. He reportedly began traveling privately, meeting climate scientists in Norway, Indonesia, and the Arctic. In 2016, he gave a speech at the United Nations calling climate change
400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday, and the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis.
the most urgent crisis of our time. The same year, his foundation donated $15 million across 24 countries. Those numbers came straight from official filings. He met world leaders like John Kerry and Ban Ki-moon, talking about green energy before most actors even mentioned the word. However, some stories claim he joined private expeditions to record disappearing glaciers. Some reports claimed his charity may have leased a research ship for 12 days. The next month, he was back in Los Angeles, attending 0 parties. Therefore, while the tabloids kept guessing, Leo was quietly building something new, a global alliance that mixed money, science, and celebrity reach. The world thought he was hiding. In truth, he was planning his next act, one far bigger than Hollywood. In 1999, Leonardo DiCaprio faced a choice that few actors ever get. He was offered the lead in American Psycho. The script was bold, dark, and risky. The studio promised $20 million and full creative control. Every headline said he would take it. Then, without warning, he walked away. The role went to Christian Bale, who turned it into a career-defining moment. The movie earned cult status, while Leo moved on to the beach. That film made $144 million, but critics called it shallow. Years later, insiders said he never forgot American Psycho. One agent told Vanity Fair that Leo kept a copy of the rejected script in his office. However, that single decision shaped his next decade. He started choosing complex moral stories like Catch Me If You Can and The Aviator. Each film showed a man chasing power, then losing control, almost the life he avoided by skipping that dark role. Therefore, the part he refused became his silent teacher.
That only Juan Tripp's great Pan American Airways had the sacred right to fly the Atlantic.
Not here to make a speech.
He earned more than $480 million across the next 5 films, but deep down, he kept wondering what would have happened if he had said yes. In 2013, Leonardo DiCaprio bought a Jean-Michel Basquiat painting for over $10 million at a New York auction. The art world started watching his every bid after that. Within 5 years, he quietly built a private collection worth an estimated $40 million, filled with pieces by Banksy, Takashi Murakami, and Ed Ruscha. However, few people knew that some of his most valuable works never stayed in Los Angeles. It was rumored several paintings were transported to Venice under his foundation's name. Italian customs listed them as climate exhibition materials, but there was no public show. Collectors whispered about what they called the vault. Collectors later speculated he might be building an unseen gallery devoted to environmental themes, art showing melting ice, dying forests, and rising seas. One piece by Murakami, called End of Season, was reportedly commissioned by Leo himself after filming The Revenant. He was said to attend auctions discreetly, sometimes bidding by phone from film sets. Every item had a reason, every color a story. The world saw a movie star buying art. He saw a record of what humanity could lose if it kept looking away. Few people know Leonardo DiCaprio once spent nights inside recording studios instead of film sets. Around 2014, he started showing up at music sessions in Los Angeles with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest and Lenny Kravitz. He said he wanted to learn rhythm, not fame. Engineers later confirmed he had a good ear for analog sound and could tell the difference between vinyl warmth and digital polish. However, one session that year created a rumor that never fully died. Fans once pointed to a track called LD32 in a US database, sparking speculation it was his. Fans guessed the initials meant Leonardo DiCaprio, aged 32 when he began experimenting with beats. The producer credited on that form was Q-Tip, and the tempo matched the demo used in the 2016 documentary Before the Flood. Therefore, people in the studio world started joking that Leo had already released music without telling anyone. One sound designer recalled he often left sessions humming his own melodies. He never confirmed it, but the registry record still exists. The man who spent decades saving nature may have left a hidden rhythm behind every speech he ever made. When Don't Look Up came out in 2021, people laughed at the comedy, but Leonardo DiCaprio didn't laugh much on set. He played an anxious scientist watching the world ignore disaster. It looked like a movie, but those close to him said it felt personal. He had spent years warning about climate change.
What other proof do we need? And if we can't all agree at the bare minimum that a giant comet the size of Mount Everest.
And now he had to relive that frustration on screen every day. Director Adam McKay later said Leo helped rewrite several scenes, adding real scientific data from NASA reports. The line, "We are all going to die if we keep pretending it's fine," came directly from one of his own speeches at the United Nations in 2016. The film reached more than 360 million hours viewed on Netflix within its first month, one of the biggest openings for the platform that year. However, behind the success, Leo struggled with the pressure of turning a global fear into entertainment. Crew members said he left one set visibly shaken after filming the scene where his character breaks down on live TV. Therefore, for Leo, the movie stopped being fiction. It became a mirror, one that showed the same warning he had been giving for decades. During a skydiving trip in 2016, Leonardo DiCaprio almost didn't make it back to the ground. He jumped from 13,000 feet over Russia with an instructor beside him. The first parachute failed to open. The second got tangled. For a few terrifying seconds, he spun through the air with no control. Then the backup chute finally worked, seconds before impact. He later told Ellen DeGeneres it was a miracle. That near-death moment changed his pace forever.
I jumped out of the airplane and then my first chute didn't open. They cut, it's tandem, so somebody's on your back. They cut that line. We started free falling towards Earth, and that's when you get the 8x10 glossies of your whole life flashing before your eyes.
A few years earlier, in 2010, he had already survived a shark diving accident off South Africa when a great white slammed into the cage. Therefore, when he says life is fragile, it isn't a figure of speech. However, the story doesn't end there. In 2019, while filming in the Caribbean, news outlets reported he helped rescue a man who had fallen from a cruise ship and drifted for hours. The Coast Guard called it one of the rarest survival cases that year. After those events, his friends said he became calmer, almost spiritual. He started calling every project borrowed time. The man who once chased danger now used every scare as proof that every extra minute had to mean something. In 1998, during the filming of The Beach in Thailand, Leonardo DiCaprio met environmental researchers working near the Andaman Sea. They told him how local coral reefs were dying from pollution. That same year, he visited the Amazon and spoke with tribal leaders about deforestation. One of them told him, "Protect the land and it will protect you." That sentence stayed with him for decades. Therefore, when he launched the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation in 1998, it started small, focusing on endangered tigers and rainforests. By 2010, he had donated over $1 million to the World Wildlife Fund and raised another $39 million through charity galas. However, after the 2019 Amazon fires, his focus widened. He joined Laureen Powell Jobs and Brian Sheth to form Earth Alliance, promising $5 million in emergency aid for rainforest recovery. He didn't just give money. He met scientists, funded documentaries, and supported over 200 projects across 50 countries. In 2020, his foundation merged into Rewild, pushing conservation beyond donations into global policy. That private vow from the jungle had turned into a movement worth hundreds of millions. The boy from Titanic had turned his fame into a tool that outlived every headline. Now at 50, he's become more reflective than ever. People expected another red carpet celebration. Instead, he gave an interview that changed how everyone saw him. In a fictional Esquire-style profile, he might have said, "I feel emotionally 32." That simple line set headlines on fire. Fans called it honest, critics called it strange, but Leo meant every word. He had spent 30 years inside a world where youth sold faster than truth. Therefore, reaching 50 felt like stepping outside the system he helped build. He explained that he now valued time more than fame. He said he had lost friends to burnout and addiction, and those losses made him rethink success. However, behind that calm voice, there was history. He had spent over 25 years chasing awards, winning his first Oscar in 2016 after 5 nominations. That journey had cost him countless sleepless nights, years of pressure, and relationships left behind. When he finally said he felt younger, it was his way of saying he still had dreams left to chase. The man who once defined Hollywood youth had turned that image inside out. He didn't care about age anymore. He cared about purpose. That confession became his clean start, and that's where the real fades. But the mystery never does. If you crave more true Hollywood moments hiding behind headlines, subscribe, stay close, and let the next story already waiting find you.